And hello, fellow citizens of the verse. Welcome aboard. I'm Etherflux. This is my channel, Captain Bilge's channel on Mixer. And I wanted to do a quick video about hover mode in Star Citizen, as it was introduced in 3.6. We're now looking at 3.6.1. We've all had a chance to mess around with hover mode a little bit. I have some ideas about it that I'd like to talk about here. So let's do a quick video, and we'll just dive right in. And I'll get rid of the music here. It's a little bit loud. All right. So here we are, sitting in our Origin JumpWorks 325 Alpha. Gonna go ahead and flight ready the ship. And I'll do a quick demonstration of how the ship used to fly all the time. Alright, so here we are aboard Port Olisar. We're just about ready to launch. And I'm going to go ahead and initiate the spool of the quantum drive so we can head over to continue the demonstration once we launch here. Quantum drive is spooling. I'm going to go ahead and launch.
Launch complete.
Bring the gear up. Now this is how the ships flew pretty much all the time, whether you are planetary or whether you are in space, before hover mode was enabled. And that is, I can yaw around here like this, and look at this, I can put my nose down and look in the direction I'm pointing without the ship going anywhere. So as you can see, we're not moving. We're staying in one spot, and I can look down. Let's say I wanted to land on that landing spot, number 20, right in front of my nose. I could keep that in sight. I could head down closer to it, like this. And I could keep going right towards it until I got close enough to be assured that I was in a good position for landing. Bring the nose up, and then translate down. So that was how the ships used to fly all the time. They would stay in the position you put them in, and you could change the attitude, in other words, where the nose was pointing, while the ship stayed in place. So this is how they always flew. I'm staying in one place, I can move the nose up, and I'm staying in one place, I can move the nose down. I'm staying in one place, I can roll left. I'm still not moving. All I'm doing is pivoting about the axes of the ship. Translation is moving back and forth along an axis. So I'm going to translate aft, and then stop. And again, all I do is pivot around the axis of the ship, and the ship doesn't move. It still operates this way in space, as you can see. But if we decide to head over to a planet or a moon, that's going to change things. So let's head over to Yela. Let's go ahead and let our nav system calibrate. We'll engage quantum. And let's go to Yela and see what happens when we maneuver the ship in the body of a planet or moon, which has its own gravity and an atmosphere, usually pretty tenuous on these moons, much more so on Daymar than it is here at Cellin. Alright, now let's zoom in on the Crusader area here. And, oops, here we are at Yela. And let's see, actually, you know what I think we might be able to do is simply spool the quanta drive to bring up all the points we can land at. And let's just select one here. Aid shelter, Grim Hex. I'd kind of like to find a mining facility if I can, because then I can pick up a little something. There we go. ArpCorp 157. Let's go there. Gosh, I hope it's not on the other side of the planet or the moon, because I really want to land in daylight. Deacon's Research Outpost, Aid Shelter. Now let's just go to ArcCorp 157.
Quantum drive activated.
And I am using Game Glass, which is pretty dang cool. If you haven't looked at it yet and you're a Star Citizen fan, I would definitely recommend picking it up. It's actually free to use for the basic system, and then you can purchase other access to it depending on what you want to do. I'm using multiple screens. Okay. Alright, now for a little demonstration of hover mode. In hover mode, the ship behaves more like a helicopter. Or maybe even, to be more accurate, like the lunar module training vehicle that was used in the Apollo program for the astronauts to practice the kind of maneuvering they would be doing in the lunar module as they approached the moon's surface. If you saw First Man, you saw Neil Armstrong flying that ship. It was a very interesting vehicle that they built specifically for training the astronauts in landing on the moon. Neil Armstrong actually had to punch out of it. But once you get into hover mode, these ships behave just like that. Let's take a look at it. Alright, there's where we're going. ArcCorp 157. Once the ship slows down enough, it looks like around 60 kilometers per second or so, or per minute. Or whatever that speed is. It doesn't even have a unit listed there, does it? Alright. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate hover mode. Gears coming down. Alright. Watch this.
Landing gear deployed.
I'm going to roll right, and look what's going to happen. We're moving right. Level, and we stop. Let's roll left, and we roll left. Alright, we move left. So now we translate with the controls that we used to use to move about an axis. We now actually move along an axis. So we've actually kind of shifted how it works. See, nose down now, below the horizon, and we are now moving forward. Let's bring the nose back up to the horizon, and we stop our translational movement forward. Let's bring the nose up above the horizon, and we begin to translate aft. Okay, that's hover mode, and it was just implemented in 3.6, version 3.6. Before, as I demonstrated how the ships behave in space, they used to behave the same way here on, or in the atmosphere of a moon or a planet. And see, look what just happened. It's so easy to lose it. So I've just really wrecked my ship.
Landing
And this is why I have such a problem with hover mode. Well, besides the fact that I'm lame at it. Um,
Weapon system disabled. Weapon system disabled. Launch complete.
so, see? Look at this. This is crazy. Um,
Weapon system disabled.
it is my contention that a ship of the complexity and advancement of this ship here and all the ships that we have in Star Citizen should not function that way. It flies like a helicopter, or more accurately, perhaps even, a first generation spacecraft like the lunar module from the Apollo space program. Okay, these ships have artificial gravity, they have quantum travel capability, uh, and at this point in development of spacecraft, you would think that it would not behave like a helicopter or a lunar module. Those are very early craft. Um, so my contention is that number one, I mean, the little thruster animations and stuff look really cool with little jets coming out and stuff. And I appreciate the work that went into that. But honestly, if we have anti-gravity or artificial gravity on our spacecraft and our space stations and the likes, then we know how to generate gravity. We can manipulate it, and we can make it do whatever we want. So the thrusters on ships, I think, should be gravitic thrusters, not RCS thrusters like you have on an Apollo spacecraft or a space shuttle. Again, that's ancient technology compared to what we should have here. So it's my contention that our thrusters should be gravitic, not reaction control thrusters with, jets that shoot out. Ancient technology. These ships should not be maneuvering that way. And additionally, the hover mode, I don't like it for being the default maneuvering system when you get in a planetary or moon situation. I don't think it should go away entirely, and here's what I propose for hover mode. I think hover mode should be a redundant backup system for maneuvering. In other words, these ships should maneuver the same in space as they do in a planetary environment, like they used to, because the flight control systems should be set up to make the ship as easy to fly for the pilot as possible. I don't think you should have to go into an external mode, view mode, to see where you're at. And in hover mode, you kind of have to do that. You have to look around. You have to, see, because you can no longer put your nose down to see what's underneath you to make sure there's no rocks, structures, whatever, and then bring the ship down and put it down. You can't do that anymore. You put the nose down, and you start translating forward. So you have to go into an external view mode, which is it's a total immersion breaker for me. I fly aircraft for real with digital flight control systems, and they have, the ability to go to a backup mode in the event of a failure of flight control system computers and things like that. And that's what I think hover mode should be. If you've been in combat or you damaged your ship, you got an EMP, something, that should make you revert to a backup mode for landing. And I think that's what hover mode should be. I don't think it should be the default landing or maneuvering mode for the ship all the time. And I think we also ought to have the ability to toggle that. Let's say you want to practice in hover mode in the event that you have a failure, then you have to use it to land. That's a good thing to do. You should be able to practice. And so I think we should be able to toggle it, go to Yela, go to Daymar, whatever, mess around with it, get the feel of it, so that when you have to use it because you've been damaged in combat or something, you know how it works and you know you can use it. But it should be a mode that operates due to the failure of the primary flight control system mode. The ships should still fly just like I showed you they do in space in an atmosphere and the gravity well of a planetary or moon body. And that's just, I think that's how advanced spacecraft would operate. The idea that we revert to this ancient uh, maneuvering mode is just, to me, ridiculous. It should be an emergency mode. Essentially, it should be the this is your last option for getting your ship on the ground mode. That's what it should be. It should not be default. So anyway, those are my thoughts. We have, again, in the aircraft I fly, everything you need to fly an airplane and land it is contained in your cockpit. All the instrumentation, everything you need to do that. So the idea of having to jump out into an external view mode in hover mode just to make sure you're not going to land on something you shouldn't, to me, is a total immersion breaker and completely unrealistic. It goes from I'm sitting in the cockpit of my spacecraft and I'm the pilot and I am landing to this is a game. This is a game. I have to go external to make sure I can see everything around me. You don't have that capability in a real aircraft or spacecraft. So that's my opinion on it. I'd be interested to know what y'all think. Sometimes I can nail hover mode, and sometimes, like what you just saw there, especially when I go external, you kind of lose a lot of visual references. If I can stay internal and briefly go out and just make sure I'm not landing on something, get right back in the internal in the cockpit mode again, I have a much better chance of not destroying myself like I just did. So, I'm getting the hang of it. It takes a lot of practice. Hover mode is I think it's fun, getting the hang of it and working on it and making or getting your confidence up on that and your skills up on using it. But I don't think it should be the default mode at all. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick video on that, see what y'all think. Leave some comments or whatever. And anyway, that's kind of all I got to say about that. I might do some more videos later on. This is 3.6.1, just came out. I actually was able to mess with it in the PTU briefly, but I got to access the PTU just literally just a couple of days before it was actually released into as the live version. So anyway, thanks for checking in. Thanks for watching, whether live or recorded. And I am Etherflex, and thanks for watching. We'll see y'all in the verse. Take care.